Hi, I'm Morgan. This is gonna be a stats and essay reading video. I had a TikTok kind of blow up about how I read an essay for Brown about Dr. Pepper. So, obviously I got in. So this is kind of be a reading of essays at the end. So if you are here for essays, go to this timestamp right here. I do want to go ahead and say I'm not an admissions officer. This is not an advice video. This is just a stats and essay reading video. If you take any advice from this, I'm very happy you think my content is advice worthy, I guess. I also want to go ahead and apologize. This little setup right here is very unstable, so it's probably going to be shaky. And one thing I want to go ahead and say, just because I don't have it in my notes and I have notes written here, I did not apply to Brown with the video essay thing. So if you are here to get stuff about like the video essay, I didn't do it. Go find someone else to talk to you about it because I didn't do one. So yeah, I hope you enjoy listening to me brag about myself for the next however long it takes me to talk about it. First, I just want to do my demographics real quick. I come from a household making less than $25,000 a year, white, female, non-Hispanic from rural Georgia. I attend a public high school, and I am first generation. Brown's application, specifically, if you're here specifically for like Brown information, their questionnaire does ask, do you have a parent who, like, they ask about your parents' degrees basically, and my dad does have 2 associate degrees, so I did put that. So I don't know if they have their own personal definition of first generation. I know the general is just if your parents have a 4-year degree or not, but you know, just keep that in mind, I guess. I'm not completely sure. I don't see why they still wouldn't consider you first generation, because first generation is neither parent has at least a bachelor's. But yeah, those are just my demographics I wanted to get out the way real quick. So yeah. Now for my grades, GPA, my weighted GPA is 4.55, unweighted is 4.0, cumulative average is 101.5. I'm currently ranked first out of like 250-ish kids. But I cannot say for sure that those are the same statistics that appeared on my transcript that got sent to Brown. I self-reported all these stats completely differently. I self-reported my GPAs of 4.53 weighted, and I was ranked 2 out of 257 kids. That's what I put last time. But I know my transcript got sent after our first quarter ended, and I was taking a quarter dual enrollment class, so I was kind of like a class ahead, if that makes sense, because it ended before the semester ended. So when my transcript got sent, my stuff was like different. So I don't know what stuff was on the transcript because I didn't see it. My counselor just sent it. So I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. I hope that makes sense. I'm really sorry if it doesn't. Now for courses, I took no AP because my school didn't start offering AP until this year. And the courses that they're offering are useless to me because they're all classes that I've taken beforehand. They're all like, one's like a 9th grade literature equivalent, and then there's APUSH, which I've already taken a US history class, and then there's, I think one's like an AP geometry. I'm not completely sure, but basically they're all classes I've already taken. Fun fact, I went my entire high school career without ever taking pre-calculus or calculus. I took Algebra 1 geometry 9th grade year. It was accelerated. Then accelerated geometry with Algebra 2 sophomore year. And then junior year, I took, and by the way, my school, I don't know if I already said this, my school is on a semester block schedule. So we do 4 classes a semester, 4 blocks / periods. So junior year, I took 2 math classes. First semester, I took college algebra, and then second semester, I took online dual enrollment statistics. Do not take statistics. Please just take pre-calculus. Don't try to be like me and be like, oh, I don't want to take calculus ever. no, please, for the love of God. Statistics is awful. Please, begging you. So yeah, I didn't have an awful grade in it. I finished it with a 98. That's with my 10-point bonus for it being a dual enrollment class. So like college credit wise, if it were to be like a college actual class, it would have been an 88, which isn't awful, but I cried about it because it was the first B I ever made. So no AP. By the time I'll graduate, I'll have either 13 or 14 dual enrollment classes done, which I use 2 different schools. So one is a 5-credit system, one's a 3-credit system. So I can't really say for sure how many credits that is. And I also have 7 honors classes done. So that's like 21 advanced classes as far as curriculum. And I do foreign language, but they are not advanced curriculum. Well, I'm in Georgia. We have to take foreign language in order to graduate. It's a graduation requirement. But I am taking every Spanish class I can take at my school. And I do want to stress something that I stressed on my application in my additional information section. In Georgia, the way our dual enrollment program works is you have so many free classes you can take through dual enrollment before you have to start paying for the classes like you would a regular college class. So like paying tuition basically. And I believe it's like about 9 or 10 free classes you can get if you were to like really nail it down to how many credit hours it is. And I have maximized that, and I am now paying out of pocket for these extra classes. The only reason I'm taking these extra classes is to maintain like valedictorian status. So yeah, I did stress that on my application. Obviously the only reason I'm really going ham on dual enrollment is because I do not have AP, or I didn't have AP up until like now, and now it's just it doesn't matter anyway. And we can't take AP until our second semester anyway, after literally all my applications are turned in. So it wasn't really helpful to, try and do it anyway. But yeah, that's kind of how my grades, my courses look. Now for the honors section, the honors I have, I'm going to kind of describe what each one is. The first one I have is a Colony Leadership Scholar. It was a scholarship program that you're nominated for and then selected for throughout the state of Georgia. It's kind of like more like South Georgia though, kind of southwestish. We did have some kids from like, I mix up my east and west and my left and right all the time. Eastern Georgia that got in, but it was really like a lot of kids from like South Georgia that got in. So it was in 11th grade. We got in 11th grade, and it was a program that lasted from like winter semester, 11th grade, so junior year, all the way towards fall semester, senior year. So it's like basically throughout this entire year, from the beginning of 2022 to the end of it. Scholarship program, we got $1,000. It was nice. It was fun. I made some friends. The next honor I got is the University of Georgia Merit Award. For those who are not in the state of Georgia, the University of Georgia Merit Award is basically an award that UGA gives to the top 5%. I think it's top 5%. It's either top 5%, top 15%, or top 15 in your class. I literally cannot remember which one it is. But it's just a recognition of like academic excellence across the state. It's a pretty cool award. The Yale Book Award, I got that. Your regional Yale chapter or alumni chapter selects an outstanding junior every year, and I got that award. I got National Merit College Board recognition for rural areas. I was not a National Merit Scholar, but I did get the National Merit recognition for rural areas. And then I was a regional first place recipient for the Young Georgia Authors Competition, which is just a creative writing competition. The dreaded test scores. I applied test optional to literally everywhere except schools that required scores because I was too lazy to get the fee waiver. So I didn't want to have to send it if I didn't have to. which I wasn't going to send them to Brown anyway because my scores aren't the greatest. I have a 1380 super scored, which is a 690 in each section. Fun fact, I took the SAT 3 times and I made a 1320 every time, except one time my sub scores flip-flopped, so I had a 1380 super scored. And I had a 30 on the ACT and I just took it once. So test scores, like I said, I only sent it to the school if they were requiring test scores to be sent. There are definitely some schools I could have sent them to anyway, but I just chose not to because, like I said, I was lazy and I didn't want to have to spend all that money. So, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, for my extracurriculars, I'm really going to go in depth on my extracurriculars here. I have a TikTok of all my stats that's up, and it has like a brief explanation of what I did, but this is kind of more in depth of what I did, what the role kind of consisted of, etc., etc., etc. So my first and biggest extracurricular was I was a National 4-H Shooting Sports Ambassador, and that I got selected for that in like July or June, July, but I didn't officially get deemed an ambassador until August. And then August all the way up till literally now, I'm still an ambassador right now. That's kind of when I've held the role. I don't have a list of like the hours per week and weeks per year thing I put. I just kind of like nailed down each thing I did. But what I've done so far, really, I've really been trying to focus on getting 4-H shooting sports and 4-H as an organization melded back together. For those that don't know what 4-H is, or if you don't have 4-H in your state or you're just unfamiliar with it, 4-H is a youth organization. It's done through extension. So for our state, it's UGA extension, so it's with a college. Like New York is Cornell, I believe. I think Cornell does their 4-H program. And then just depending on the school, it's different school for each state. So 4-H for us, we have a very established 4-H program, in my opinion, based on the people I've talked to from other states and across the country. So Georgia has a very big 4-H program. I think we have the largest in the country. I'm not completely sure about that. Don't hold me to that. But we do have a very big program, and our shooting sports program is really, really huge. But one thing that I've found is that it's kind of like segregated away from the remainder 4-H as a whole. And I'm not really sure why that is. I find that a lot of kids who do shooting sports in 4-H aren't really involved in other stuff. So my goal was to kind of try and get kids that were really big in other parts of 4-H introduced to shooting sports and vice versa. Other things I've done, I've just recruited kids from other counties to participate in other counties' teams. For example, if one county didn't offer a particular shooting sport, I would encourage them to go participate in a neighboring county and try and, you know, if they enjoyed it, maybe their county would start their own program. That was a big thing I did, and we're trying to focus on making a state level ambassador program because we actually don't have one. So a lot of kids aren't familiar with the ambassador selection process nationally because we don't have a state ambassador program. So it's kind of complicated to go from like not being an ambassador at all to being a national one. So we're really trying to make that so it's like a easier process for the future. My next extracurricular is I was on a BB team in 9th grade with Georgia 4-H. I was the captain of my team in my county, and I have the highest district and state level recognitions you can get. I have like over 20 medals. I've nationally recognized. I was in the championships division at Daisy Nationals, and the way BB in particular works, 4-H has like plenty of shooting sports that you can participate in, but BB in particular, you can no longer participate in 4-H BB after 9th grade. NRA has different rules, but 4-H's rules are after 9th grade you can no longer participate. So ninth grade was the only year I was able to participate on the team and contribute to my application. I participated from 5th to ninth grade though. But I got a substantial amount of awards my ninth grade year. After that, my next extracurricular is coaching for the same BB team. My biggest role I played was just mentoring new shooters, kind of, passing the torch along, I guess. And I think this is what kind of solidified my application a little bit, is showing that I was able to go from being an active participant in a sport or an activity to representing the sport on a national level. I think that was a really big reflection of growth and stuff. So I'm very proud of that, actually. Other extracurriculars, I was the vice president for my school's HOSA chapter. And the biggest thing that I personally did was Junior HOSA Club, which was, I established it, and it's basically kindergarten through 3rd grade. We bring in about 20 kids every time we did a meeting, and I would basically just teach them about healthcare. I teach them about different healthcare careers, different health stuff, like how to take care of your teeth, just casual stuff you learn when you're like, in kindergarten to 3rd grade about your body and, health and stuff. And I did this because I really, really, really wanted to stress how much I wanted to help educate people otherwise, because I'm educating people, through shooting sports, but I really do enjoy learning about healthcare and stuff. And I did want to go into healthcare for a little bit, but I decided against it. Just wasn't my cup of tea. But being a healthcare educator is definitely something that I foresee doing, maybe. So, yeah. My next extracurricular is I worked at a local law firm for a while, for about 6 months my junior year, and then one of the attorneys quit and they laid me off. I was not fired. My brother keeps saying I was fired. I was not fired. But I learned a lot there. I considered going into law for a while, and this job was kind of shadowing and stuff and seeing, if it was something I'd be interested in. Too much paperwork for me personally that I wouldn't enjoy, so different route. I do, however, love law, love learning about it. So the next extracurricular I have is a COVID vaccine drive. I basically made this COVID vaccine drive for the first round of at-risk patients, where they came through the farmer's market in their car, and we got nurses and stuff, and they administered their shots. And as HOSA members, our duty was to basically watch over them and make sure they didn't fall ill, if they started having panic attacks, something like that. And if they were fine after 15 minutes, they were allowed to leave, because that was basically the whole CDC precaution with COVID vaccines at the time. My next extracurricular was family activity, family contribution, stuff like that. My parents are divorced and I only live with my dad. I don't live with my mom at all. And so he has me, and I have 2 brothers that live with me. So my dad owns his own business. He's very busy. He works very long hours. So my biggest thing is I have to basically pick my brothers up from school, take them to practices, take them to after school activities, make dinner, laundry, basically be a housewife, low-key. Not to be Freudian or anything. And then my last extracurricular is during baseball seasons, I would run the concession stand. So that was another volunteer thing. If you feel like I missed anything at all, please let me know in the comments. I will happily answer questions and all that stuff. But since we're done with all of my application stuff in general, I will go and start reading my essays. Before I read my essays, I do want to say, as far as recommendations, I got a recommendation from my honors chemistry teacher, my Spanish teacher, and then I got another recommendation from my old boss at the law firm. I did not read any of them. I didn't want to read any of them, but based on my relationships I had with those people, I think they're very, very good essays. I know my chemistry teacher, he read a letter my dad home one time about my greatest qualities, and if I were to like use that as a recommendation letter, I'd say that was, you know, very well written. My Spanish teacher offered to let me read it, but I didn't. And then I can't say how well my old bosses would be, but he's a very smart man. I'm sure it was very well written. I will firstly be reading my personal essay. The prompt that I chose is discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. So with that, I wrote about my mother's addiction recovery and how that I kind of drew parallels between that and my own rebuilding my relationship with her, because that in itself is its own form of recovery. So with that, I'll just read. My mother says the key element of recovery is understanding that recovery never ends. Like any other process, there are goals to be achieved, mistakes to be made, and failures to be accepted. The finality of maintaining your composure is the very component that weds the survivor to the timeline of recovery. It is utterly and completely infinite. Forcing myself to endure such profundity from the person I trained myself to despise for 4 years compares to what I can only describe as severe emotional exhaustion. I hated that I pitied her alcoholism, that I understood her, and that I missed her. I hated that I felt so prone to opening my heart to the person that had ruptured it so many times, but what I hated above all else was despising my mother. Like addiction, one cannot overcome the agony of abandonment overnight. There is immunity built on top of 1,000 sleepless nights worth of emotional construction and deconstruction until one can tell themselves they are content with their mother's absence, as if each drop of liquor on the kitchen floor had evaporated along with their mother's love. With that contentment, however, comes acceptance. In my case, it was accepting the possibility that my mother may be too far gone, but I never could accept it. I pictured a woman reaching for a reality which only eluded her grasp like she continued to elude my very own. No matter how many more layers of peace I painted over myself, the original colors seemed to shine through. No amount of it could disguise the part of me which remained unforgivable. I scraped away my contentment and went back to the starting line, but never did I learn from the mistake of believing there was a finish line. I didn't want to respond to my mother when she reached out to me 4 years later. I felt an unbridled rage and an incurable frustration, trying to reject the idea that she had corrupted the 4 years of growing and losing contentment, as if I truly believed I had been helping myself all along. I didn't want to read the message she had sent to me, but I knew I had to at least allow us both an opportunity for closure. I was never able to conjure the belief that my mother would rehabilitate. She was far too stubborn and independent to allow such interference in her life, but there I sat, reading about the 1-year sobriety chip she was getting in a month, reading about recovery, and reading about a woman I could not tell if I hated or loved. 5 months later, I'm spending the night with my mother for the first time in nearly 5 years. She is asleep, and I sit against the headboard of my bed, remembering what it means to be in recovery. To be in recovery is to understand that recovery never ends. Recovery is contentment, but also pain. It is not linear, it is not perfect, and it does not deny the version of yourself that required recovery in the first place. I stare at my mother's face, allowing the contentment and rage to coexist within me, and I understand that there is no end to the paths she and I are on. As I am painting layers of love and sympathy over layers of hatred and frustration, I make note that these layers will always be on my walls, just like her layers of addiction remain underneath layers of sobriety. I am wedded to my timeline of recovery no differently than she is wedded to hers. We have reunited, we are repainting, and we will recover, and we will do it together. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So a big part of that was trying to communicate the difficulty of not knowing if I hated or loved my mom after everything she had been through, I had been through, and it was just kind of the realization that I could love and hate her at the same time, that I can remain angry with her and still love her, because I really do still love her, and some days I still, have those rageful feelings. So being able to come to terms with the fact that those feelings can coexist within me was very peaceful. Not really peaceful, but fulfilling. So yeah, I only had one person review this essay. I had my chemistry teacher review it. He gave a few pointers and I took the advice for the most part. And yeah, And that was actually the only person I got to review anything on my application. Fun fact, I did not have anyone review my application or any of my other essays besides this one that I just read you guys. Now for the Brown University writing supplements. Brown has 3 writing supplements, and I really like my Why Brown essay, or the open curriculum essay. I'm not a huge fan of my other 2, but you know, it is what it is. So the first essay that I have is Brown's culture fosters a community in which students challenge the ideas of others and have their own ideas challenged in return, promoting a deeper and clearer understanding of the complex issues confronting society. So this is basically, tell us about a time your perspective was challenged. So I wrote about feeling like an outcast in my own sport, because I'm a very liberal individual, but being in shooting sports, you can imagine that's a very conservatively dominated sport. So I kind of wrote about that. I felt like an outcast in my own sport. I dominated every competition, shooting target after target and decorating my neck with gold and silver, all to go home thinking about how I was so thrilled by the very thing that has been plaguing my country for decades. Nobody else on Project SAFE seemed to disguise their Second Amendment advocacy. It scared me that I didn't fear gunshots, and even with the knowledge that I was not contributing to the rampant gun violence across America, I still felt that each trophy on my shelf was earned in vain. A sport rooted in shooting and an organization that prides itself on the safety of its own shooters, not once acknowledging the problem of gun violence due to the general disagreement of those within it, was not a sport nor an organization I wanted to associate myself with, but it was one that I loved. It had built me and gifted me with memories that were too precious to reminisce with a bitter heart, so I did what I knew could dissolve that bitterness and hopefully restore the tranquility I once saw in shooting, acknowledging the problems. Developing Project SAFE has been a difficult, albeit worthwhile, pain. There is a unique and complex difficulty in recognizing the simultaneous lack and presence of responsibility in situations such as these. As empathy grows in my community, so does the hope for a future where all marksmen will fight for solutions rather than ignoring the problem. All of Brown's supplemental essays are 200 to 250 words, so not a lot. Unfortunately, I feel like I could have done so much better had I been given a better word count. But this kind of went back to my extracurriculars, National Ambassador for Project SAFE, which is Georgia 4-H shooting sport program. And a big thing that I really wanted to do was promote safety to the greatest degree I possibly could, because gun safety is one of the most important things we need to promote right now. I could make a whole separate video on gun control and gun violence, but this is just a college admissions video. But my biggest thing was recognizing guns as something other than a sport, because it is important that we do recognize them as something other than a sport. They are still a weapon, they are still something you can kill with, and I felt like it was important to stress that to the kids to promote safety. My next essay is, drumroll please, the Dr. Pepper essay. This prompt reads, Brown students care deeply about their work and the world around them. Students find contentment, satisfaction, and meaning in daily interactions and major discoveries. Whether big or small, mundane or spectacular, tell us about something that brings you joy. Again, same word count, 200 to 250. In 2015, Elizabeth Sullivan appeared on CNN in celebration of her 104th birthday. Her secret to a long life? She drinks Dr. Pepper every day, about 3 times a day to be exact. And about 3 times a day, someone new sends me the same clip of Elizabeth with laughing emoticons and a message along the lines of, "This is you," all while I'm opening my own Dr. Pepper. While I can't say that Dr. Pepper has gifted me the same longevity that it has for Elizabeth, yet, I can say that I enjoy it all the same. So much so that I performed a small experiment for Dr. Pepper lovers like myself. The defining trait of Dr. Pepper is its 23 flavors. While the flavors have never been publicized, speculation has concluded enough satisfactory assumptions. I, however, crave to know which flavor it was that made Dr. Pepper so delectable. 7 2-liter bottles and 60 test tasters later, I had collected the ballots that would answer 2 questions. What do people taste, and what do people like? Over 20 flavors listed on each paper, yet only 4 had been notable flavors. cherry, pepper, cola, and vanilla, with a tie between cherry and cola as the crowd favorites. Though my plan failed, the Dr. Pepper consumed in the process offset my disappointment. Data science may not definitively prove the taste-defining flavor of Dr. Pepper, but it doesn't take a scientist to know what they mix to become bottled perfection. So this is true. I did write this essay. I do love Dr. Pepper. I probably have an addiction. I'm not even gonna lie. And I am known for my Dr. Pepper addiction quite well in both school and organizations I am in. It's kind of concerning, actually. I also cried when Dr. Pepper replied to my DM on Instagram. So yeah, I don't think I can stress anymore how much I love Dr. Pepper. So yeah, I really just wanted to have fun with this essay. I knew the moment I saw that prompt I was either going to write about Dr. Pepper or Taylor Swift. Obviously I chose Dr. Pepper and I'm very happy I did because it got me in. So yeah, there's not much I can really say about this essay other than it's the essay that people wanted to know. And here you go. It's here. You're welcome. My last essay is the open curriculum essay. It's basically Brown's Why Brown essay, and I really went ham on this. I'm very proud of this essay because I just knew it was going to be kind of the defining factor for me, if that makes sense. But here it is. The open curriculum allows individuals to pursue passion and develop new passion. Growing up, I developed interests with ease and quickly found out that there's nothing I love more than teaching others about what I'm captivated by. I'm eager to pursue an academic experience that allows me to immerse myself in what I adore most and develop the skills to return to my community and fulfill new, enthusiastic minds. It is the rightful duty of educators to develop a sensitive and illuminated perspective of the world around them. With courses such as the Arab Renaissance and contemporary poetry in Spain and Latin America, I will be able to pursue my literary and historical interests, as well as developing my familiarity with global cultures, all while evolving my ability to work with individuals in educational environments. As a future educator, I believe it is the responsibility of such educators to not only instruct and prepare the young minds of the world, but seek out and repair the problems in their community and to improve and advance educational atmospheres. The Annenberg Institute provides the privileged opportunity to Brown University students to pursue issues that they are passionate about. I aspire to improve the educational deficiencies in my community, as they are the very deficiencies that revoke the ability of maximizing the potential of young thinkers. I wish for the next generation of young Georgia students' ambitions to be fulfilled, as mine will be while taking advantage of Brown's open curriculum. Like I said, I'm very proud of that essay. I think I did very well, and all of it's so true. I am very excited to take those specific classes, hopefully, fingers crossed. And yeah, Brown's open curriculum means so much to me as a Libra. I don't think you guys understand. Obviously, you guys understand. You're all interested in Brown. What am I saying? But yeah, I'm very excited to go to Brown. I hope you guys enjoyed this stats video. I apologize for how shaky the camera is. I literally have it like pinned on top of my laptop. There's a reason I didn't do that video essay for Brown. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please ask. You can find me on pretty much any social media. This handle right here if you didn't already come from my TikTok. So yeah, thank you for being here with me.